Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome to all my newcomers as well. Thank you guys for joining me for another vlog, and I just pray that it'll be one that is timely. I also want to first and foremost thank God, because he's the one that's keeping me going. And for those of you that do know, I've started working, so sometimes balancing recording / promoting the vlogs alongside work has been a bit more difficult. So I found myself recording later than I would like to, but God continues to keep me pushing on, keeps me fresh with ideas to record and to share with you guys. So I just want to thank him for that. And I thank you guys for supporting and just encouraging. It's really nice, and it does help me with pushing myself to still continue to do vlogs, almost, if not 2 years now. Yeah, I think it has been 2 years since starting this channel. So thank you guys, and please do continue to support. And yeah, I'm just going to start with this vlog, and it is actually a testimony continuation. So I pray that you guys will be blessed by it.
Because I'm here to encourage you anyway. I know it's rough, I know it's tough, but I'ma show you how I came out the dust. He had his way, and now this is my story.
So to be honest guys, you might have to go back to where we left off. So I'll link where I left off from in this vlog, so you guys can go back and watch that when you want to, so you know where this is continuing from. But basically I kind of did a vlog on my COVID experience, or COVID-19 experience, a while back. But with that one, for those of you that watched it, and again, please do go and watch it if you didn't. Yeah, that one I didn't actually get COVID, but from that vlog you will see that I had a really weird experience with COVID-19 when it first came about. But this COVID-19 experience is when I actually got COVID. So if I have to think a bit back now. So I got COVID the ending of 2021, but the beginning of 2022. Well, officially got COVID, because in a previous vlog I said that a blog a while back, I said that I think I had COVID-19 before it became a thing, just because I had all the symptoms. So I believe it, but I couldn't be tested for it because there was no test for it. We didn't know what it was. But I definitely got COVID in the beginning of 2022. And I don't know, in the ending of 2021, so it was Christmas, and we actually had a really nice Christmas. And yeah, it was just like any other Christmas. Okay, it was a bit different because like COVID is still very present, so it just felt a bit weird. And I still had family members that weren't still very comfortable with like meeting up and stuff because of COVID, so that was a bit strange, I guess, in itself. But Auntie Paulette was able to come down, so my aunt that I lived with when I was at university, she was able to come down, and we had a really, really nice Christmas. And so fast forward to, so still in the Christmas period, but fast forward past Christmas, I think it was the 27th of December, I cannot remember exactly, so don't quote me. But myself, my mum, my youngest sister, my aunt, and my cousins, one of my cousins were going out for something to eat, so we ended up at Westfield and Stratford, and we went for something to eat. So at this time people were still wearing masks. I was still wearing a mask as well, because my immune system is not always the greatest, so I was still wearing a mask. And because it was so close to Boxing Day, I was a bit worried with like there being a lot of people. Well, I don't even remember if I was worried, it was more my mum was worried about me and being okay. But then obviously when you're eating, you don't have to wear the mask. So I was eating, so I took the mask off, and I felt completely fine. But then instead of putting the mask back on when I started leaving Westfield, or putting it on when I was walking around, I just kept off, because I hate the mask anyway. I can't breathe with them on. I don't know if you guys can agree with me on that, but I absolutely hate them. So I kind of was just like, yeah, I'm fine, it's all okay. And I had a really nice time with my cousins, with my mum, my sister, my aunt, and I felt completely fine. My aunt was here for a few more days after that, and everything was fine, everyone was fine. And then I think it must have been either the 30th or the 31st of December, I started to feel very unwell. And it felt like flu but a lot worse, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And I was like, oh, maybe it's just that I just feel a bit tired, a bit run down, because during the Christmas season, you know, you're all up and down, like you're going bed late but then getting up early, you're going and visiting, you're doing this, you're doing that. So I just put it down to that. I was like, maybe my body's just a bit run down, so let me just rest. And then I think it was the 30th, because by the 31st I started to feel really, really bad. So I said, you know what, because I'm not feeling well, let me test myself for COVID. So I tested myself, it came back negative. So I was like, oh, so I don't have COVID, maybe I'm just coming down with a cold or something, and it's just really bad, because a lot of the time when I do get colds, I do get them really badly. So I just put it down to that. So I was like, okay, it's not me being run down, maybe it's just a cold coming. So as I said, the 31st came, and Keisha and Kirk came over again. So they had gone home and they came over because my mum's birthday is on the 1st of January. So they came over to bring in New Year's with us. And I just felt horrible, absolutely horrible. I felt terrible. I didn't want to eat anything. My appetite had gone completely. Everything just tasted horrible. And I remember I was in my room for a little bit and I was like, I'm sick, I don't really want to be around everyone. But then because we were bringing in the new year and my sisters had set up like the living room with like decorations and stuff for my mum's birthday, I went into the living room and my sisters had made food, and I remember trying to eat it and I just felt sick, like I didn't want to eat anything, and I just found myself like kind of like this in the chair, and I didn't want to get up at all. And I just felt very, very weak. I just remember that. But even though I told my sister Keisha that I felt weak, she thought it was okay to be kissing me on the cheeks and just hugging me and everything. And I said, Keisha, I'm really not feeling well. First, I think mostly why I kept saying that is because she was irritating me, because I didn't want to be touched, because I did feel weak. But also I didn't want to pass on anything. So I was telling her like, please don't hug me and stuff like that, but Keisha doesn't listen most of the time, so she's continued to do what she was doing. And yeah, I just felt really bad. So then we brought in New Year, and I said, you know what guys, I'm actually gonna go to bed. So I remember going into bed, and that night was one of the worst nights I have ever had. And I kid you not, I woke up and I was soaking wet, like I was covered in sweat. My bed sheets were completely wet, to the point that I had to change my bed sheets. My quilt, everything was soaking wet. And bearing in mind, this is December, so it's quite cold in England in December, for those of you that don't live here. And that December, I remember, was very, very cold. So I'm like, how am I sweating? Why do I feel so hot? But funny enough though, after that sweat and this was a Friday night, because I remember, if I'm not wrong, New Year's Eve was on a Friday. So on Friday night, so that's when I sweat myself out. So Saturday morning I got up and I felt so much better. I was like, maybe that's all I needed, was just sweat whatever it was out. But one of my cousins was supposed to be coming around with his girlfriend. So my mum said, okay, Chelsea, you're still not feeling 100%, so just test again for COVID. So I said, yeah, but I'm feeling a lot better. But I said, okay, I understand, I don't want to pass anything on, and just let me check. So I tested myself and I saw it, and it was still coming up negative. So I thought to myself, let me go to the bathroom and go and have a shower, just so, because obviously I'd sweat everything out, all my pajamas and everything were soaking wet. So I said, let me go and have a shower. Then when I went up to the shower, I started to feel really weak and I felt like I couldn't breathe. So I was like, this doesn't feel right. I felt better, but why am I starting to feel worse again? So I just said to my mum, I think I'm just going to go and lay down. If they come round, I'm just going to stay in my room. So I came back down, and when I went over to my bedside table, I looked at the COVID test. I was just about to throw it away, and the thickest red line was on the positive bit. So I was like, oh gosh, I'm positive. So I quickly shut my bedroom door, called my family about my cousin come round. I said he can't come round. I actually tested positive. But by this time, the shower that I had used, my mum went and used straight after me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so bad, because now I know that if I've tested positive, I know I was breathing heavily because I couldn't breathe once I got into the shower. So I'm like, oh gosh, I've actually passed it on to my mum. I just stayed in my bedroom, And I don't know what it was. Maybe it was some kind of like recognition in my body just thought it would just go into hyperdrive. From that point, I started to feel terrible. Like where I started to feel like I was getting better, I started to get worse than when I did, like how I started. I could not move. My chest was hurting. I just felt very lethargic, very clammy. I didn't want to eat anything. My taste had completely gone. So my mum and my sisters kept bringing trays of food and just leaving them outside. Then I think it was a couple of days later, I was speaking to my older sister Keisha, and lo and behold, Keisha got COVID, and she said she got it bad as well. But I think at this time, when you tested positive with the lateral flow, you actually had to go and get the proper testing kit. But because so many people had been testing positive, were out of the home testing ones. So I had to walk. I think this was 2 days into testing positive. I actually had to walk to my nearest one because you're not allowed to get a taxi. You're not allowed to get on public transport for obvious reasons. So I kid you not, this walk usually takes me 10 minutes. It took me over half an hour just to walk there, as I felt like I was going to faint. So I was just walking and trying, and then a few days later, lo and behold, it came back, yeah, you're definitely positive, you have to isolate for 10 days, which I knew already. So as I said, going back, Keisha also tested positive, so she had to do the same thing. She felt exactly the same way as me, and then her husband got it a few days after her. But then a few days into it, I think by day 5, maybe day 6, Keisha and Kirk started to test negative. And I think that was the rule at that time, was day 6 and 7, if you consecutively on those days test negative, then you're allowed out of isolation. So I think up until day 6, I still felt absolutely terrible, but I said, let me keep testing. So day 6, I started to feel slightly better. I was like, maybe I'm negative now. I tested, still positive, and that red line was still as thick as it was on the first day. Tested on day 7, still positive. And rewinding back, sorry, I forgot to mention this because I think this is the most crucial bit. During that time, I remember being so worried, so nervous, so afraid, because I started worrying about giving it to my family. The fact that my chest was really hurting, I was scared that I was going to end up going into hospital. And you heard all these stories about people ending up in hospital with COVID and not returning. So I was like, oh, what if I end up dying from it? What if my younger sister Ria, she has diabetes? And I think I told you guys about this fear as well when I spoke about my first COVID-19 experience, that I said, God forbid that she gets it. She may end up worse than I am, and she might actually end up dying from it. And the fact that I brought it into the house, I would feel terrible about it, that I've given it to her. So all these things were going on in my mind, and I felt like overwhelmed with emotion, and I just felt so scared. I felt terrified. And I remember talking to Natalie and Laura at this time on the phone, and I was just saying to them, guys, I just feel really overwhelmed. Like my mind is just all over the place, and I just feel so stressed out. I'm really scared. Like I'm in so much pain. I can't eat properly. I'm losing weight, and I just felt very, very terrified of everything. And I remember just laying there, and I was on the phone speaking to them, and then they were saying that they were praying for me, that they'll pray with me. So we started praying together. Then when they came off the phone, I prayed for myself. And I remember that in the YouVersion Bible app, there's actually a bit where you can put prayer requests. And the reason why I thought of doing this vlog is actually that I went back. I was going through my prayer request and answered prayers, and I actually saw that prayer that I had written when I got COVID in 2022, the beginning, and just all the emotion and stuff that I felt there, I just put it down and I prayed. And I remember at that time, after I prayed, that I felt such a sense of peace that I was like, yeah, this is definitely from God, because my situation had not changed whatsoever. Like I still had COVID, I still felt horrible, I still was a bit nervous about my family, but I was nowhere as nervous as I was, and I felt okay. My mum ended up testing positive, but she had no symptoms whatsoever, and the only reason why she knew she was positive, because her lateral flow was coming back negative, but in order for her to go to work, she had to test negative on the actual testing kits. So when she went in, she found out that she tested positive. So she had to isolate, but by day 6 and 7, she was good again, even though I was still not well. And yeah, so by day 10 now, day 9 now, I tested negative. I was like, okay, this is good. By day 10, I tested negative. I was like, thank you, Lord. So I felt a lot better. I went out of my room. I sprayed down my room, changed all my bed sheets, everything. During the time that I had COVID, I had my windows open the whole time, and bearing in mind it was freezing outside, but I didn't want to keep it in, so I wanted my room to be well ventilated. And then for some reason our heating broke, so our radiators weren't working, so my room was ice cold, so I was under a blanket 24/7. So once I had come out and I was with my family, and I felt so weak, my legs felt like jelly, I just felt very breathless, so my family was still being very helpful. Then fast forward, sorry guys, this is a long testimony, fast forward 2 weeks later, I still was feeling very breathless, so I even tried going for a walk, and even to get to the bottom of my road, I was panting like I could not breathe at all. So I kept trying to do that, but it wasn't working. And they say usually you get chest pain and stuff because you've just had a COVID infection, but they say wait 2 weeks. So I waited 2 weeks, and I spoke to my doctor, and I said, like, I'm still having chest pain and my breathing is really bad to the point that I'm struggling to talk to people. So they said to come in. I got tested, and lo and behold, they told me that I had pneumonia. So I was given antibiotics, and yeah, that was a battle in itself. And I was just like, oh, not another thing. Like, I was really struggling to do stuff like washing myself, struggling to even eat, because I would have to eat then to kind of help me with breathing, because I couldn't breathe and eat, and it was just, yeah, it was just not nice at all. And the reason why I wanted to share this with you guys is because of actually something that I was talking to Natalie about. And we were just talking about like being stressed and stuff, and just the stuff that are going on in our lives anyway. And I just said one of the things that kind of helped me when I start to worry when I'm in a new season and stuff are going wrong, or I just feel overwhelmed, is actually going back over it when that prayer has been answered. And that's exactly what happened with this COVID-19 one, because like I said to you guys, I had written my prayer down. So a couple of days ago, when I reread over that prayer, I wrote an update to that prayer. And the thing is, I am now on the other side of COVID, having COVID-19. I'm on the other side of developing pneumonia from the COVID. And my family, yes, my mom may have tested positive, but Rihanna and Lauren were completely fine. They tested negative throughout my whole infection. Keisha and Kirk, yes, they tested positive. They were quite badly affected by the COVID, but they made a full recovery. They were completely fine. And just looking back, it just is a reminder of just how good God is. And it's actually a verse that I want to share with you guys. It's taken from Isaiah 41 verse 13, and it says, "For I, the Lord your God, will hold your right hand, saying to you, fear not, I will help you." And this verse, like, I just, when I was praying about doing this vlog, this is one of the verses that came to mind, and I'm so thankful to God for this. It really made me smile when I was thinking about going through having COVID and how scared I was. And it's just a beautiful reminder that God is with us, that God helps us, and that means there is no reason to fear. So I don't know what you're facing, what your family may be facing, what you may be going through personally, something that might be affecting you, that is affecting a family member, a friend, but God is with you. And even in our moments where we don't feel it and we don't think He is with us, and He is helping us to be stronger than we could ever be, even when we feel like we're at our weakest. During that time when I had COVID and I felt so afraid and so panicked about everything, I felt like I was so weak, but God was truly giving me so much strength. Even to fight through the infection, it was a battle in itself. To fight through the pneumonia was a battle in itself, but God continued to remind me that He was with me. And just like He was with me in that time, He continues to be with me, even in these new seasons. And the reason why I'm in this new season, you're in the season that you're in, because God has already helped you through a previous season that you were praying to be out of. So whatever it is, I pray that you may give it to God, and that you will trust that he is with you and that he is going to help you through it, because he is. He's told us that he will be there with us and that he will help us. And I know from personal experience that he keeps doing it, and I know that he'll keep doing it for you too. So I pray that you guys were blessed and encouraged by this vlog. Sorry it was a bit longer than usual, but it was one that I really wanted to share with you guys, and I just pray that it encouraged someone today to just trust that God is there with you and that you do not fear, because he is there to help you. I will see you guys, by the grace of God, in 2 weeks' time. Bye.
But it's alright, but it's